I see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, listener, for tuning into this episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. It's me, James. Today I'm introducing you to my friend Nora Weed. Nora has a lovely little boutique dress store right beside an 1800s mortuary in Tombstone, Arizona. And she occupies both sides. It's right next to a saloon. And she not only sells dresses in a very haunted location on one side of the building, but the other side, Nora takes people on paranormal tours. Now, her building was first opened as Tarbell Undertakers in 1879. That was 2 years after prospector Ed Shefflin founded Tombstone, Arizona. We'll get into why it's even named Tombstone in the interview. The building goes from Doc Holliday's saloon on to about 511 East Allen Street. And the saloon and store, which is Nora's place, are located in the former chapel and family parlor. So that would be where, if the miner or if whoever died, and it wasn't just miners and gunfighters and things like that, it was anyone who died in Tombstone, which had a population around 7,500 back in its heyday. People were dying from everything from consumption or a medical issue, from appendicitis to a viral infection, to lead poisoning because they got shot in the saloon, to a cave-in in a mine, all sorts of things. Just typical dying. At one point, they had more undertakers in the town of Tombstone, Arizona than they did at that time in Chicago, Illinois, just because of the volume of people dying monthly. I think back then it was about 90 people passed through the 4 or 5 mortuaries that they had in town. The saloon and store are located, as I say, in the formal chapel and family parlor. But the other side, there was a small residential area which is used for the mortician's work. Now, when I say residential area, it's kind of, probably had a bunk or something in there where they could sleep. If these guys were also very rich, so they had probably big houses, and we'll get into how much money they get paid per body. But they call it a residential area. But it was where they did the mortician work, and these morticians also had to be master carpenters, or else you couldn't get the gig, because they were the ones who actually had to make good caskets. And as the town grew, the business took off on another undertaker by the name of George Watt, and became known as Watt and Tarbell Undertakers, and operated under the name until 1887, when the Undertakers eventually went their separate ways. And Mr. Watt moved to Prescott, Arizona, and Mr. Tarbell stayed in Tombstone, and at one point the business reverted back to the Tarbell Undertakers. When you ever go down there, the double doors at the front of the building were for the carriage hearse known as a Black Maria, which is actually one of the two ones, Black Marias they had. Is next door in a location called the Birdcage. And if you're a fan of paranormal television, every so often a group will go down to the Birdcage and pretend to do a overnight investigation in there and come up with a bunch of bogus stuff. But if you really want to go down there, you can go. It's haunted as heck. But I actually personally, I walked into it once, and I had what is almost like a panic attack going into the Birdcage, because it was like I wasn't supposed to be there. There's something in there that really is more of a cranky energy. But in Nora's place in Watt and Tarbell, and her paranormal side, it's actually a lot of fun. I've actually seen things moving in there, and we'll talk a bit about some of the things that go on in that side of the old Undertakers. It's kind of cool. You see the double doors where the hearses would go in, and to the left of that, which was a little thin door, and it's kind of cool, that is the viewing door. So if you were a body that wasn't identified, they'd pack you in ice and stick you up in that door for a week or so, and hopefully somebody would walk by and go, "Oh, there's Uncle Fred," and identify him. And if you weren't identified, you got buried in the unknown side of the Tombstone Cemetery. So a lot of fun stuff at Nora's place in Tombstone, Arizona. If you want to check up a little bit more, her website is wattandtarbell.com. That's A&D for and, wattandtarbell.com. And if you want to poke around on her Facebook page, it is Nora's Place. And let's go see if she's ready to come in. Hello, Nora. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you today, James?
I am well up here in the Pacific Northwest, and you are down in sunny and warm Tombstone, Arizona. How is it down there for you on this wonderful March day?
Oh, it's a beautiful day. I think we're going to be 70 degrees and sunny. And we got slight wind today, so it makes it a little chillier.
Well, we were supposed to have snow today, but I think we've dodged that bullet. One of the last little chunks of snow coming in. Now, you and I have known each other for about 3 or 4 years now. I end up coming and going, always bounce around your location at Watt and Tarbell in Tombstone, Arizona. Tell us a little bit, not only about yourself as a sensitive and a medium, but here you are working in a building that's probably one of the most haunted locations in Tombstone, Arizona. How the heck did you actually get into that location? What drew you into that location you're at?
Well, actually, I've seen and stuff since I was a very little girl. I was a mechanical engineer, and my family was here, and so I came here. My sister and I went in there with the group that we were working with to actually just investigate it. We got it for 14 days. Before the end of 14 days, started doing the paranormal investigations in there, instead of going back to being an engineer somewhere in Tucson. So I've been in there right at 7 years now. In the Undertakers building. I've enjoyed it. It gets long, hard hours at times, but I kind of feel like I'm finally probably doing what I'm supposed to do. I mean, I made better money as an engineer, but I get more fulfillment doing what I'm doing now.
What's a little bit of the history of Tombstone?
Tombstone was actually a town. It was originally called Goose Flats. There was a gentleman that was actually a scout out at Fort Huachuca, which is about 27 miles from Tombstone, and he would come out here and he would look for gold and silver. His captains would always tease him that all he was going to find was his tombstone, meaning he would be killed out here because of how violent it was. Right outside of town, he actually found the very first vein of silver right up on top of the ground. And he called that the Tombstone kind of as a joke because he started mining it. Our town actually changed its name in honor of Ed Shefflin because he made Tombstone one of the largest cities this side of the Mississippi. And that's how we kind of got our history. And everybody knows about the OK Corral gunfight. That probably is what's made us more famous than anything, when we have a lot more than just a gunfight.
Yeah, you do. And in my experience in Tombstone itself, the buildings that I kind of poked around in, and even the place I stayed, the San Jose house, which was like the first boarding house back in the day, it's a lot more. The working function back in the 1800s of Tombstone is a lot more than just a gunfight that lasted about 5 minutes. But that is the famous part, the old OK Corral, which is sort of still there, even though there's a fence, I guess, through part of it. And it's some of the place the shooting was as a park, but it is close. The little reenactment is close to where it was. But when you start poking around the buildings and getting to talk to the local people about their history, Tombstone is a lot of fun, but a really dark place. You had more morticians, I think you told me, than Chicago did back in the day.
Oh, yeah, we sure did. We had 6 full-time morticians in our town. Our town's population was truly about 7,500 people. So that's going to kind of tell you how violent our town was. And that was pretty true with any of the old mining towns. You know, you had a lot of theft, a lot of greed down here. So we had to have a lot of morticians to take care of that.
Yeah, and the one of the things I think it was funny, you were telling me that to be a mortician back in the day, you had to be a master carpenter.
Yeah, because you had to build those coffins, whether it was just the plain Jane or the fancy ones. So you had to be that above and beyond anything else. The rest of, the bombing portion, you could actually learn. I'm sure you had to also be able to have a pretty strong stomach at the same time.
Oh yeah, I could imagine that, and they got paid quite a bit too, didn't they? Especially if you weren't if no one identified the body, didn't they get paid by the state for that?
I actually got paid by Cochise County. I got paid $20 to actually take care of the body. It actually cost $143 to take care of the body from the embalming process all the way to the graveyard. So, they would have been able to also try to sell like your horses or whatever you had of value to try to recoup that. But then they would go a step further because they would put you in a viewing coffin, kind of pack it up with ice. And a lot of people look at me when I say that. But yes, we did have ice back then. I'm sure that it was probably more like the dry ice, and the ice factory was actually on Tough Nut, almost right behind our building. So for us, it wasn't that hard to get the ice. And then they would pack it up around the body to kind of keep it a little bit cooler and prop it up in front of what they called viewing doors. And they would leave them there for 10 days, praying that somebody walking through town would see that body and come in and give that body a move.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool. If you ever go to where Nora is in Tombstone, Watt and Tarbell, and you're standing on the street looking at the front of the door, on the left, to the left of where the Black Mariah would go in, the opening, there is a slim doorway, which is about a 2 feet wide and tall. It's all glass. That was your viewing window, wasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, and they would roll the body up there and just prop her.
So if you did, your husband had been gone, or your wife had been gone for a bit, and instead of before filing in your missing persons report, I guess you'd take a walk by all the funeral homes and see who's propped up in the windows.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that, but I'm not even sure if they had missing reports back then, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that was it was very common, because I do genealogy for my family as well, and it was very common for even husbands or wives to decide they just didn't like their husband and haul off with somebody else and just leave a whole family.
Or that's what the husband told everybody. And don't dig in the garden. Yeah. Nora, you've got some interesting guests that are no longer living that kind of poke around your place. Tell us what Watt and Tarbell was at the time for Mr. Watt and Mr. Tarbell. Who were those guys?
Mr. Tarbell is the one that actually was originally there. Our building was there before we were known as Tombstone. It actually opened in 1879 as Tarbell Undertakers. But as the town became more known for the mining and all the silver, and we went to being called more Tombstone, we became so violent we had to have more morticians. So Mr. Tarbell took on another gentleman by the name of Mr. Watt. And that's when we became known as Watt and Tarbell. They operated together until late 1887, and they separated. And Mr. Tarbell stayed where we're at, and so we went back to being called Tarbell Undertakers till about 1909. Those were the latest death certificates I've been able to actually prove directly to my address. I do know that Mr. Watt went to Prescott. I've kind of done some research forward and backwards, because I've went through the old newspapers and kind of left here really, really fast with no explanation. But he did that prior to Tombstone, and when he went to Prescott. He was only in Prescott maybe 5 months when he left there. So my assumption, and again, this is an assumption, is he was probably doing some things he wasn't supposed to be doing with bodies and was having to leave. So, we had a really long run as the Undertakers building in our town. we were the longest running one. So we have, the claim because we did the guys from the OK Corral. We did China Mary. So we did quite a few of the very well-known ones, along with just some of the plain Janes, that are in and around this area. I have some that interact that I haven't been able to even prove died here in Tombstone. One of them is actually Frank Leslie. I can't prove he died here. In fact, I know he didn't, so why he's in and out of my building is beyond me, unless it's just the connection to the town.
You said Frank Leslie?
Yeah, Buckskin Frank Leslie, one of the most gunslingers.
I'm sorry, you say it like I should know him. Buckskin Frank Leslie, gunslinger?
Yeah, he killed 19 men and his wife. That was right here in Tombstone.
Wow.
He went to Yuma State Prison, and while he was there, he actually became a pharmacist, and then he left. But he didn't die here, so I don't even know why he would be here.
A lot of people, not only you've told me this, but other sensitives have told me you can walk out on the street of Tombstone and not only see, as a sensitive or a psychic, people from the 1800s, but you could see people from last Wednesday walking down the street. And these people aren't, quote-unquote, ghosts that have not crossed over. There are people who crossed over and just come back because they like the energy there.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, it is really bizarre. I mean, I have a few people in my building right now that did not die here. They came in with family and have never left. People come here for a bucket list and they die here on our street.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. Sometimes I tease family and stuff that I think that Tombstone gets its blood back for the silver, but it's really more about people that are, especially I would say the older generation, that are coming here that know that they're sick and they're wiping things off of their bucket list, and then they just never leave our town.
Like they've come and said, okay, before I die, I want to see the Washington Monument, I want to see Lincoln Memorial, Space Needle, Tombstone, Disneyland, and they end up just kind of staying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think I don't think spirit is designated to one spot. Yeah. I think they could from here to where you're at in Canada in the blink of an eye if they chose to.
Well, and in my belief system, that they can be in multiple places at the same time.
Yeah.
Because time isn't linear. It's flat.
And that's the way I get it as well. I mean, my guys have talked to me about heaven and hell before, and they will tell me that it exists, but they won't go any further than that. They will tell you they can't.
Oh, see, and that's interesting because we can get into the whole heaven and hell discussion sometime over a beer, because I've been given the inference that hell doesn't exist, and there is a process, and I wonder if that's a good one. We should actually, that's a whole other episode we can talk about. But what I'm fascinated with the people that are there, and like my mother is standing right beside me right now, and she's also can be sipping a glass of wine on the porch somewhere back in the 1970s, exactly at the same time as she's going to a local bar back when she was 25 in the 1940s. And now she's crossed over, of course, and she can do that. But I don't believe somebody who has not crossed over has that ability to travel. I did accidentally bring home a guy from the battlefield, 17-year-old kid killed day 2 of the Gettysburg battle. I brought him home to the west coast of Canada with me. But it was really interesting afterwards, after I got told this by multiple mediums saying, holy crap, you got this 17-year-old kid. He wanted to come back and see the boats on the coast. And I checked about 2 weeks later. I said, so is he still around? And I said, no, he went back. I said, well, first of all, I brought him out. So if he connected to my energy and came out, I could understand that. But when you say he went back, so maybe there is that little switch. They just have to think themselves back to the place they want to be.
Yeah.
But I don't think he can be in 10 places at once like somebody who's crossed over already. This is all, of course, this is just a belief system I have. It's not, I can't prove any of this. I'm not dead, and then I'll tell you.
There's a lot of that. A lot of people don't believe in ghosts. I get that, especially if you've not experienced that. I think there's a lot of fear of wanting to believe or to disbelieve. The people that disbelieve, I think there's fear related with that, especially with certain religions. I mean, I am a Christian. I personally don't feel that God would give you a gift and condemn you to hell. And I've had a lot of preachers tell me I'm condemned to hell because I actually utilize my gifts. I've been this way all my life. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I agree. I've interviewed some people who are demon hunters, and they're just people who do paranormal investigations and try to push ghosts out of people's houses. But because of their religious beliefs, all ghosts to them are demons. It's like,
yeah, and I don't
calm down.
I just don't believe that. And that's not to say that there isn't that here, because I've personally experienced twice now, and I'm 59. I'm pretty positive it was. But I also think that, you know, we got the same energy here as we do in death. So if you were a real butt, I'm sorry, you're probably going to be that in death.
Yes.
And if you were an angry person that wanted to hurt people, man, you got the best recipe in death to really raise havoc.
And those are the guys we run into. Those are the idiots, the negative hauntings, let's say. They're all just really bitter people who are angry, and they don't like people on their property, or they're pissed because they're dead, and they want to drive everybody else nuts, or they want to push everyone else away. It's you know, it is. Those are the awkward negative ones. Do you get those guys in your location?
Yeah, you can, just because of what Tombstone is. I mean, they can hop on like they did with you and walk into a building that isn't like that. I always tell my guys very often, remember that love is the greatest thing in the world. You know, I play my gospel music in there. I have my Bible in there. I started trying to say that toward the end of my night as I'm closing, and that's usually like my 8 o'clock. But if I'm doing a private at the end of the practice, I will tell them that I want them to remember that I wish them the most love and the most peace. I actually have one from the other night when I said that. One of my guys goes, "Yeah, we know, just like Jesus, because you're always telling us that." But I think that if you raise that building level to let them know that you wish them nothing but love and peace, that it actually brings more peace to your building. And I have found when I've had to help break negative energies as a Reiki Master, that when I, you know, as a mom and a grandma and a great-grandma, when I come from that kind of a love, that if it's a negative energy and they don't want to feel that, they ain't sticking around. Yeah.
Now, and you do have some interesting interactions there. I remember you at one point a couple of years ago, you put you had like a shared lease come in. These guys wanted to open up a shooting gallery.
Correct.
And tell us about that. One day there was a box of ammunition sitting on the table, and what happened to that?
Yeah, he actually did it in the very, very back of my building on the side I do the investigations. And he was coming in a lot when I wasn't there. My guys see that as my building because I've been here the longest and I do things different. And him and his brother were back there doing the rebuild for the paintball. And they didn't think he was supposed to be there. And they didn't like him in there when I wasn't there. Those boxes weigh about 7 pounds. Mm-hmm. And the couple sitting behind their back. And they didn't just fall off. They went shooting across the building. And that building's like 14 foot wide. Probably about 8 foot out. That is not dropping. That is being tossed. And Tim called me and told me that I needed to come up there. And I was like, dude, I work 7 days a week. I got a night off. I'm not coming there. And he goes, they are throwing things at us. And I said, well, they're telling you to get out of there. I am not there, and they don't want you there. And they actually left. It got so bad that he actually took all of his rebuilding equipment and put it on the side that I have my store so he could rebuild there. But where I go in between from my store side to where I do the investigation, we have a door that does like the bar door. It swings back and forth both ways. And I would be sitting there and you would see my door open where they could kind of look where he was at, and he would say, Nora, you need to get your guys. They are harassing me.
Those guys aren't there anymore, are they? The humans?
No, they left here in December of this past year in 2019. So, no, they are not there. There's a difference in my building. It was like, okay, we got it back to the all-female energy in here. And I think that they prefer the female energy. You know, I've been in there for 7 years. I look at things different. I react to them different. My daughter is empathic. She doesn't necessarily like this. So they will bang in the morning when she's in there, and she kind of cusses them out because she hasn't had her coffee for them to knock it off. She's actually done it with me a couple times, and they will call her not a very nice name when she comes in, and she'll go, yes, I know that's what I am, but don't mess with me in the morning. Mess with me during the day, but not in the morning.
Not before I had my cup of coffee. We're talking to Nora Weed. She's the operator of Watt and Tarbell in Tombstone, Arizona. Watt and Tarbell is one of the, I think it's the last remaining of the 5 Undertakers that you
Correct.
guys had in town there. And if you're ever in Tombstone, actually, please go to Tombstone. It is one of the most fascinating places in North America. It's historic, and it's just a wonderful little, I don't want to say ghost town because it's quite active, both with humans and with ghosts. But it's a very, very interesting snapshot of American history. And you'll be fascinated. You'll be fascinated. It's a wonderful little location, and not the big tourist trap you may think it is. It's not. It hasn't been Disney-fied. Heck, I went to what is that place? The Winchester Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been Disney-fied. Before you walk in, there's this huge area where you buy souvenirs. And I was talking to one of the ladies that worked there, and she goes, oh, yeah, we had a guy actually come from Disneyland. He used to work there, and he set this up. I went, yeah, you can't tell. Everything was a T-shirt this and a key fob that and a bottle opener, and I just went on and on and on. But Tombstone's not really like that. There is still operating businesses there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And right next door to, if you want to go for a beer in a saloon, you can go next door to Doc Holliday's, right on the other side of the wall from Nora's place, and it's kind of fun in there too. Nora, take us through. You put on these little paranormal investigations. How often do you do that? Is it nightly?
I do those 7 days a week. I typically won't do it on Mother's Days because my guys will not operate. They will tell me it's Mom's Day. Bye. They're pretty blunt about it. I don't do Christmas because they don't like Christmas for me being in there, and I don't do Thanksgiving. If I come in there for Thanksgiving or Christmas, it's because I'm bringing something they've requested. So, yes, you will see, like, food or candy sometimes in there. I do put the alcohol and stuff out there because they ask for it. So those are the main nights that I don't do it. I have to have at least 2 people to do it. Number one, almost all the equipment I use is batteries. And as you know yourself, they can drain a battery just as soon as you are putting it in. So I go through tons of batteries, and rechargeable batteries do not do the trick. So, I mean, I do probably pretty similar to what you see on TV because I am using the equipment. I do give them the history of my building. Some of that does involve a little bit of the town history because it does intermingle. As an engineer, I'm giving you really good information on how the equipment works as well, because there are a lot of paranormal investigators that really do not even understand the equipment. They don't even understand how easy it is to get false readings. And I think that if you're going to be an investigator, especially if you're not working with somebody that is sensitive, you're going to be getting stuff that is truly false, and you have no clue it's even false.
And well, how do you? Give me an example of some equipment that you have, and what maybe people should know about using it in your experience as an engineer and as a paranormal investigator.
Well, one of the ones that I rely on personally is going to be the millimeter, whether it's the one that you can buy for pure ghost or a pure electrician's millimeter, because many people have no clue how high levels of electricity can affect you. You get people that are in these places that, especially like the older homes in the basements, or even some of the newer homes, how they're placing electrical all in one area. Electricity can make you think you're seeing things. It can make you think that you're feeling something coming up behind you. You can hear things, and that's the way the electricity interferes with us. So for me, that is one piece of equipment. The other would be like your K2 meters, because they pick up the electricity. But a lot of people, they'll say, oh, well, that's an EMF meter. Okay, well, what do you guys know about EMF? Yes, that's an electromagnetic field that is coming off of electricity and different types. So that's actually going to pick up the American electricity, the AC portion. It also picks up the DC portion, which the majority of the other countries utilize. But it also picks up RF, which is a radio frequency. Our cell phones are radio frequencies. So if you got your cell phone too close and you're running an app, and say it's up in your pocket and you're kind of holding that K2 up, it can pick that up if that app reaches out. Or if you're taking a picture and you're holding it, it's going to show a K2 hit. I've actually used the Ovilus 5 and been holding my K2 when that Ovilus is starting to give us words. It's setting those K2s off because there's so many batteries in that Ovilus 5 that it is actually a false reading. And you see that a lot on TV, unfortunately, when they're holding that piece of equipment and the words are coming and they're asking and then the K2 is going off. That's truly a real false reading because it's that Ovilus that's setting it off. And many of those guys don't even acknowledge that.
Oh, yeah, they won't because it's TV. And we can get into those guys later and their shenanigans at the birdcage down the street from you. One of the things I found with having a cell phone in your pocket, and I recall even realizing this at work, or a guy standing up at a lecture hall with a microphone. Your cell phone will cycle every so many seconds, literally looking for the closest tower. It's constantly searching for a tower. Well, that, you go to a concert and you could actually hear that coming out through the speakers, and the fellow doing the talk would be looking around going, what's going on? You get this interference. Well, it's because it's the cell phone in his pocket and he's got a remote mic or he's got a cordless microphone and it's picking it up. Well, it's the exact same thing that'll happen when you've got your meters and you got your cell phone in your pocket. Every few seconds, it'll move, and you think, oh, I wonder what that was. Maybe we'll just stand over here. Oh, it's done it again. Well, yeah, it'll keep doing it, and if you time it, it's exactly the same seconds apart. It's because of your friggin' cell phone, buddy. But, people see this stuff on TV, and they think, oh, we should buy one of those because then we can talk to a ghost. Well, calm down. That's not how it works. But it's fun. It's I honestly, my biggest thing is if you don't have a psychic on your paranormal investigative team, why show up? Why you've got a 20-room house or building and you're going to walk around to every room and say, hey, is anybody here? Is anybody here? Well, have a psychic with you, walks in the door and says, okay, they're all going to meet you in the room at the end of the hall on the left. That's it. You don't have to walk anywhere else. That's where they are. It's crazy.
And I think each group should have more than one.
Yes.
Number one, a lot of people think, oh, well, I got a psychic with me. I'm going to get something. You know what? That spirit may say, screw that psychic. I don't like that energy. I am not going to interact. So the more you have the better chance you're going to get something.
We did a paranormal investigation at a place called Fort Worden. I think it was open 1905, shut down in 1953 or something in Washington State. And a lot of people died there from the Spanish flu, brought back from the First World War. American soldiers back to Fort Worden, which was kind of isolated back in the day, and they died there at that location. Well, we must have had 5 psychics out of the 15 people on the team. And some people would get something from this place, and others would get it from that place. So, and of course, if you have a number of psychics, you defer to make sure everybody's got a notepad and they're writing the stuff down. And kind of look at them when you only need guidance and see what they wrote down at the end of the day and match it all up and say, hey, you guys did all see the same thing. That's kind of cool. Or you did identify the same person coming through. That is really neat.
You're verifying information that other people have gotten or the history of the place.
Yes.
My sister and I actually did a lockdown at John Slaughter Ranch a couple years back. And I was running the store with my mom. My sis and a bunch of them went down there. So I got there right at dark. So I didn't even get to go in and hear Fred and his wife kind of give the history. Well, when I get there, I'm going into a building with no electricity. Yes, it's got a lot of pictures with a lot of the history. But you're not seeing that when you're running a flashlight and watching the ground and you're running your cameras in and out of there and running the electricity up from, probably 1/8 of a mile from down below, trying to get the electricity in to run your cameras. And I'm telling my sis what I'm picking up. I didn't realize how accurate I was until they went in there in the morning to dismantle, and I actually got to take the time to sit there and read the info. And, when we still haven't been able to give Fred and them everything, because we actually went in several different times. And, man, the stuff that we got there was amazing. Even with the grid and stuff that we were videoing, I've got things I've never seen happen before. But you get different things when you're going in there totally blind. And that's the way everybody should go. I get people that, we got to do this history, that history. You should do it after the fact. But that's my belief.
And just for the listener who doesn't know who John Slaughter was, Texas John Slaughter, he was a lawman. He was a bit of an adventurer back in the 1870s and settled in the Arizona territory. And he was quite the lawman for what was it, Comanche County? Is that what you would say?
No, it was for Cochise County. He actually came here.
Okay.
Was actually our marshal here for a while, but prior to that, he was also a Texas Ranger.
Cool.
Usually Texas Rangers at that time were a ranger till death. So even here, he was probably still considered a ranger. He was quite ruthless as well. He owned the biggest ranch. Part of his ranch was also in Mexico. So even Pancho Villa and all of them came to his ranch. He actually did come here with somebody that was wanted. The judge told him that they were going to hang him on Monday. This was on Friday. He'd been away from his ranch for a while, and he wanted to get home. And he asked the judge in our courthouse here off of Tough Nut, so you're saying you're going to hang him on Monday, correct? And the judge goes, yeah, we sentenced him to death. He actually stood up, pulled his pistol out, and shot him and says, well, I'm going home. I don't have time to wait till Monday. So I kind of tell you how ruthless he truly was.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's hung people on his property there because he just wasn't going to waste time. They were wanted dead or alive, so he hung them, then brought them in.
Jeez. Yeah, he was, Pancho Villa actually nicknamed him the Wicked Little Gringo.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah.
And he was wicked, but he also had a good heart. I mean, he did save an Apache girl. I should have thought about that, because at that time frame, if the natives left them for a reason, it was usually because they felt that they were wicked. My little girl is very wicked. That was one of the first things that I picked on. up on when I went there. She really hated everybody with the exception of him. I mean, she even told his wife, when I grow up, I will kill you.
Okay, that's a little awkward.
Yeah. So, but it was kind of showing he does have a kind heart at the same time. He probably should have left the little girl alone, but he wasn't going to let her just stay out in the middle of nowhere and die. So he brought her home and raised her as his own, but she in a fire. So, he did have that kind side. Even those that probably we would consider evil, even in today's, they still have that kind side. It's just how much do they reach for that kind side?
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And he liked the Apache to a point. He used to allow them to harvest his cattle as they needed, because he knew they were going to wipe them all out. He just, take a steer once in a while if you're hungry. I got a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, that also kept his homestead safe.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting history you have out there in Arizona, young lady.
Yes, Arizona, I would tell you that Cochise County is probably very haunted. I don't think it's just Tombstone. There's a lot of that around here.
Well, I was down in Bisbee, and that place it looks like, if no one's ever been to Bisbee, it looks like a European town, very narrow roads and high buildings. It's kind of a funky little feel to it. But that place vibrates. Well, so does Tombstone, but it's got a vibration that's like busy. It's like busy, even though the streets, I was I think it was there on a Sunday, the streets were pretty well dead empty, but the place just felt like you were in Times Square. It was busy. It had a busy energy to it. It was just a really fascinating place. So the energy in that place, and I'm guessing that I think it was a hotel there I went for lunch at, and it was haunted as hell. Like you could feel stuff all over the place. Sorry, what was the name of the hotel again?
Copper Queen.
The something Queen?
Yeah, Copper. Copper.
You just broke up there for a second. The Copper Queen, that was it. Beautifully laid out, linen tablecloths and the whole bit. And it had that hustle and bustle feeling, like it was very, very busy when there was only like 5 people there. It's just wonderful.
Did you go to where they have the little bar that has the little veranda that goes out?
No. Hold on. Yes. Is it like almost on the ground floor?
Yeah, it is on the ground floor.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
And when you're coming in, you can go to the left, and it has this hallway because it takes you to the restrooms. But there, you can see into the entrance of their kitchen back there. There's a gentleman back there that really does not like women.
Oh, really?
Yes, I picked up on that when I was going in to go to the restroom, and then we were going to go and eat. And I kind of just stopped with the person I was with. It was a male, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a man back here that really don't like women." And it gave me kind of the EBGBs as I was walking. That's the only reason that I stopped. It was like, yeah, don't mess with me. I would not want to be a woman working in that kitchen, just saying.
Jeez. Now, let's beam us back up the road to Tombstone again. You have a number of interesting buildings in your area that are active. You put on a lockdown, a bit of a lockdown every night, but every month or so you put down a real long one?
Yeah, we're trying to do it like every 3 months because, I do know the owner of Doc Holidays, which is also the extension of the morgue because that whole building at one time was the morgue. So we'll do like 2.5 hours in my building kind of on the side that I do it and let them kind of walk around in there, not just sitting around the table. And then we'll take like a 30-minute break where I bring out coffee and snacks and stuff to kind of wake us up after being in the dark for 2.5 hours because that's a long time. And then we'll go over and spend 2 hours at Doc Holidays kind of walking around that one and interacting with the spirits that are in that side. And they get a lot of activity there, and a lot of people don't even realize it unless they're just really observant. They've gotten some really good pictures from tourists that have just snapped pictures in there. People that if they're watching the pool table will see the balls do things that they're not supposed to do. They have wine glasses. Sometimes it'll just shoot out and drop to the floor. They've had their trash cans turned upside down when there's nobody in those bathrooms. So, they get activity. So we'll go over there once in a while. Then I have a friend that has like a shotgun house, one of the original ones, and Kim allows me to have access to that on and off. And I've talked to a few of the other business owners here that have told me that if I wanted to do theirs, and I could go and talk to them if I have enough people and bring them in with me to do their building as well. So I'm trying to get it where people that don't typically get to do ghost stuff in those buildings, trying to work it where I can offer that after hours as well.
Okay, that sounds actually like a pretty good system that you've got going there. It's kind of using both sides of the wall, more or less. You've got your group over here, and then you can take them over next door to Doc Holliday's. I didn't know Doc Holliday's was part of the original morgue. That's kind of interesting. I could see that now when I imagine walking into your front door. There's not a lot of room in there, so I could see having to, have another chunk over there. Did the morticians actually live on premise, or did they live in a house and then they come into work?
They did have like a little small area, but I believe that was the main lady of our building. Her name is Edith. She probably lived and died there. But Mr. Tarbell had his own home here. I know the person that owned Mr. Tarbell's house. They've recently sold it. And then I am sure Mr. Watt also had his own home. I haven't been able to place that because both of those people had 13 and 14 kids. That's no place you would raise that many kids.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to raise more than 2 kids inside of a mortuary, if any. One of the things that I found fascinating when I hang out on the porch with you, you actually not only see the dead, but there's a lot of elemental beings that move up and down through that street. And you described them once as they were moving down the boardwalk across the street like big black caterpillars going over top of people and down. Why do you think Tombstone, I have my own theories, but why do you think Tombstone is such a good location to actually see these things? Not only, again, the dead, those who have crossed and those who haven't, and elementals like these giant caterpillar-y things.
Personally, I know a lot of people think that it's the minerals under our ground. I don't think so. I also know that this area is very sacred to the natives. And you see a lot of really weird things here in the skies if you're here any length of time. I haven't really looked to see how the different lines of interact and intersect into this area. But, people come here. There was a lot of deaths here. That was not just on the white side. It was also the native side. You have Council Rock in the Dragoon Mountains not far from us. So I'm not so sure that some of it doesn't have to go back to the natives that were here and probably what was here prior to our natives. And then you have the things that you're seeing in the sky. So I just kind of think it's a hot spot in general. Do I think that it ties to the mineral? I don't know that I believe that because there's other places across our world that has the same minerals that are not like Tombstone. There was a lot of death here.
I've always leaned towards the mineral side of thing, the quartz and the silver in the ground, and solar loading, which is the sun energy being absorbed by that, and that being something that a spirit can tap into to become visible. But you're right about the weird stuff in the sky. I took some photos September when I was there. One evening I took some photos of a hotel on a corner. You have two hotels on a corner, kitty corner to each other. And I was taking a picture of the one in the southeast, and there was some light came over top of the building as I was taking the photos, and it was only in the photo. There was no other. I got this thing, and it's like a blurry blue, and I don't know if it was, did I take a picture of a ghost standing on top of the building looking down at me, or was it behind it in the sky? It's really, really hard to see. I actually posted it on my Facebook page, asking for some input on it, because it definitely wasn't there. And I took pictures of it again, and I took 2 or 3 pictures, and there was nothing in the other pictures. It was just this one, maybe 1 or 2, and it moved from one point to another. It was a really, really interesting glowing blue thing. In May, when I'm down there, I'll show you the pictures and see what you think about it, or send them to you. It's a fascinating location. Now, you've got, you have a place called the Birdcage, and I want to get into a little bit about the Birdcage and your location and all the shenanigans that people seem to come to Tombstone to do. You've got a lot of like satanic-y, witchy kind of, I shouldn't say witches, because a lot of the witches I know are actually pretty cool, but some really negative energy humans show up to these places, and they goof around with the dead. And I think that happened at the Birdcage a while ago, and they ended up bringing something in that's up. Is it Watt and Tarbell's Black Mariah, their hearse? Is that in the Birdcage up on the stage there?
Yeah, that's the big Black Mariah that sits up on their deal. That actually did belong to our building. Mr. Tarbell purchased 2 of those. I don't even know that they realize that, because I've done a lot of my own history search. He paid quite a bit of money for those from that time frame. Paid $8,000 a piece for those.
Jeez.
That's a lot of money in 1881. But it has 6 ounces of 24-karat gold on it and 1 ounce of silver. So, that is the reason we have those 2 doors, because he would have brought them in to protect them. A lot of people, he just wanted to keep them black. Yeah, no, he was protecting that gold, silver on them.
Yeah, so you don't have to be a miner if you got a knife and walk up to one of those things and scraping gold off. Holy cow. Yeah, I heard that there was something negative up behind that thing now as a result of some shenanigans, some witch, and I want to keep saying witches, but more of a satanic group. We're doing a bit of some kind of ritual up there, and it brought something through.
Yeah, I've had people that have done both of mine that don't like the Birdcage and say that there's negative. And, we do get the mediums that come here from all over the world. And I've had some of them that have become very close friends that refuse to go back into the Birdcage. The last time I was in there was a few years ago. It was with my daughter. I actually had left equipment and my purse. Of all things, my purse. Both my daughter and I got growled at in there. But, I don't go in there. I do know that anybody that looks across YouTube can even get Mr. Hunley Sr.'s own personal experience in there. When somebody took the Ouija board, he won't allow certain things to go in there. But truthfully, when you're bringing people in and out of your building doing this, if you don't have people that really understand what they are doing to understand what is good and what is not good, you're inviting that. And I get the sense that their people are employees. They don't necessarily understand the 2 differences.
Yeah.
So, and you can get people that are just generally like that have that kind of energy that they're bringing in. And some of them can just drop them off. And if you don't know what you're dealing with to protect yourself or your building, then you're opening up bad crap.
Oh, of course.
And, you can get that in any building. That's why a lot of people go, well, Nora, if they really look around my building, they're going to see I've gridded my building with stones. I go in and sage and bless my building. You know, you have to be proactive if you're going to do this on a daily basis, a nightly basis, a monthly basis, to protect you as well as those that come in. And I get the great sense in many of my buildings here and other places, they are not proactive on that.
Yeah. I walked in, I think I told you this, I walked into the birdcage because I was going to do the tour, had money in hand, going to finally, because the first time I went in there, I ended up chatting with somebody on the boardwalk and never did get in. And then I went in, walked in the door, and I got inside, I looked around, and I started getting goosebumps on both arms. And it was almost like, I've never really had a full-on panic attack or something, but it made me sick. So yeah. I was like, yep, can't go. And I walked out the door. As soon as I hit the boardwalk outside, completely fine.
Yeah.
Walked back in again, stomach started to flip, walked back out, completely fine. And I said, yeah, I'm being told by a number of beings that are around me to get my ass out of that building.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time blocking. I walk around open all the time. I try the best to be grounded, but gosh darn it, I'm constantly one big antenna drawing everything in, and I'll forget. I constantly will walk into a place and go, oh crap, I'm wide open. And I've got to then take a step back and kind of block, and then remember as I leave the building to leave everything there. I'm terrible at that. And I most likely walked into that building with all my antenna and my welcome signs up, and my guides, my protectors are like, get your ass out of here.
And see, I'm totally the opposite. I'm closed. I have to personally really work about being open because of my past as a kid. Shutting down and blocking is my number one strength.
See, and that's what I've always been bad at that. That's why, I'll bring things, I'm bringing stuff home all the time. When I'm conscious of it, I shut down. I block, and I do my little meditation as I'm leaving someplace. It takes literally seconds to basically say, hey, you guys, thanks very much for letting me in here, but you're not welcome back. This is your place. It's a nice place. I'll come back and visit, but you're not coming home with me.
Yeah,
literally that kind of that quick. But in my head, it comes out a lot quicker. And sometimes I'll just even ceremoniously, I will just wipe both hands. Yep, I'm done. Everything's here. Off we go. Because I have brought things home. I've had guys standing at the foot of my bed from paranormal investigations, staring over top of me. And I was like, okay, I totally forgot to clear myself as I left. But that place, I was being yelled at to leave. You are not coming in here.
And I think
it's awkward.
I've been getting a lot of people that are sensitive and truly know that they're mediums that have been telling me the same thing. And it is typically more there than any place else. Yes.
Because I've been into almost every building in the old part of Tombstone, including the courthouse, and where the gallows were. I didn't feel anything like that at all.
Now I do on the gallows at night. I won't go down to that area at night. There's something not really nice there at night. So, and I won't go there at night. There are certain places I will not walk at night here because it changes.
Oh, you have different energies coming through.
Yeah.
Than you do during the day. Interesting.
Yeah, the building right across from Shefflin Hall, that building, I won't walk past it at night. I get the EVGBs. I feel evil there. Yeah, not walking there.
What did you call that? It was across from Shefflin Hall?
What was known as the Bella Union. I don't get a good vibe off of that building either. There's several locals that feel the same way about that building. The locals here we get people come here, oh, there ain't no such thing as ghosts. Yeah, give me 3 months and then come back and tell me you don't believe in ghosts. Some of them, it's not even a week, and they're like, okay, we just had this weird thing happen on the house that we just bought. It's, yeah, I didn't think you believed in ghosts. Yeah, well, we're kind of rethinking that. Because I don't care where you go in Tombstone, you're going to, if you do not believe, stay in this town. Stay in this town and give it some time. This town will show you that there's something else here.
Okay. So now I'm going to have to go back. Now, the Bella Union, that's the Adobe Lodge Hotel?
No.
No.
It was a restaurant. And like I said, it's directly across the street from Shefflin Hall. It was a steakhouse. I don't know the owner of the building. I've had locals that told me that the reason it is shut down is because of something that happened when he was shutting down. Oh. Like I said, I don't know who he is. I've never met that gentleman, so I don't know if the local rumors are true or not. I just know how I personally feel when I go past it. We did Shefflin Hall, and I kept being drawn to one of the windows there, and I was telling a couple of people when we were outside smoking, I just don't feel good about that building. I get that there's something evil there. Now, whether that's demonic or just an evil spirit, who knows? And not giving it a chance. And you and I discussed, regular spirit can be evil too.
What do you call, what is your belief of demons? What do you think they are?
Fallen angels, for me.
That's what you think? Okay.
I am a Christian, so I personally felt something and dealt with something at Eastern State Pen, got the pictures of it, and it is black with wings. I truly believe that was demonic. Nobody will ever convince me I was the one that said no, that it was not a kid, and I was the one that got attacked.
Okay.
I do believe it's there. Now, does every building that has bad things happen to the people in there, do I think that it is a demon? Like I said, I believe that regular humans can be that evil as well. If you were that evil in life, I'm sure you were that evil in death.
Yeah. You definitely can be an asshat in death, just like you were as in life. It's interesting that we have a number of locations in Tombstone that it's almost like a ripple effect. You'll have a really good building and a really bad building. I shouldn't say really bad. They have their ups and downs, and like you walk from one end of the block to the other and have good energy and bad energy and good energy and bad energy. It's almost like what I feel is almost like you're stepping through somebody who had a different energy, and you walk past somebody that you don't see who possibly was a jerk, and then you walk past somebody who was really nice, and it seems that you pick it up as you're walking down the street.
Oh yeah, but people even today we get people like that. I have people that watch me because I am an energy healer. That people will be walking and they'll see me kind of step back, especially if I'm outside smoking, and they'll see me walk to the middle of the street, and it's just because I feel not so great energy off that person, and I kind of I don't want to mix my energy with them. I think that every person that is walking has that ability. That's just how are we tapping into that? Are we following what our gut says? Yeah, 99% of the time, no, we're not. We should, and we don't. I've been known to do that too, where my initial instinct was that person is really not a good person, and then I let the human side, the kind side, I shouldn't judge, so I should give the person a chance when they probably should have listened to my first gut instinct.
Jeez.
So all of us are guilty of that.
Yeah, it is an interesting location. It is drawing in a lot of very unique people, I must say. There's a lot of seniors who travel through there doing the RV, like you say, the bucket list. A lot of young groups. Like I sat through one of your paranormal investigations that you had in which would have been the garage area back in the day, but very active with a number of the things that you put in there and a number of the props you have in there. And it I think this group, some of them were for Canada too. They actually came down there. It was what they wanted to do, and they had a really interesting time. And I remember, who was it? There was a girl standing up you have a barrel in there with a couple of different whiskey bottles on it and a little bar set up, and her dress, the bottom of her dress was being pulled.
Oh yeah,
being pulled out. It was fascinating, and you had there was always that one skeptic person saying, "Oh, that must be a breeze from the air conditioning." Going, "Why, air conditioning?" Right? There was no breeze. There's no doors open. There was nothing, and this woman's dress kept being pulled out, and it was dropped again, and it would be pulled out, and it was dropped again, and it was fascinating. But
I'll be posting in the next few days. I had one of my friends up there, and a lady that is a full-time RVer and she was actually recording. And you can see that Missy is standing really still, and she had a stroke. So she has to hold on to stay still, but you can see she is still. And you can see her white jacket being pulled in and out. And you can see it by the grid light, but I'm actually putting a flashlight on it. I've started incorporating that because I get the people that, they're moving. All right, I'm getting ready to show you. Boom, here's my flashlight. I want you to see these people are definitely not moving. This isn't them breathing. And if you're breathing, it's not being pushed in like a hand and then being pulled back out. Breathing does not do that. So I will be posting that in the next couple of days because the lady actually texted me her video because it was very obvious. This is not her moving. This is not her breathing. It is just in one spot. It's by her hip. It is not in her rib cage.
Where are you going to be posting this?
Up on my Facebook page, Nora's Place LLC. Eventually, I need to get more of that posted up on my website, which is whatandtarbell.com. I don't get a chance to do the website, but on the website, we have all the reviews hooked to that.
So Nora's Place on Facebook.
Yeah.
And whatandtarbell.com. Now, the and, is that A-N-D?
Yes, A-N-D, not with the ampersand.
Okay. Whatandtarbell.com. So if you guys are wanting to go over and check some of the Nora stuff out, whatandtarbell.com. That's WATTANDTARBELL.com. And on Facebook, Nora's Place.
LLC.
LLC. Are you a lawyer?
No, it's a limited. It's the way taxes as a partnership and stuff. You can, you know how our governments may have to protect ourselves. Yeah, that's why.
I'm just teasing you. Have you ever done a investigation? You were talking about the Shefflin Hall down on Fremont, the corner there. Was it Fremont and 4th? That's where you were saying across the street is the Bello Union Saloon. That was from 1878 or something. That was kind of creepy that you won't go into. But have you ever done an investigation in the Shefflin Hall?
Oh yeah, and we got a lot of good stuff in there. That only did that for the Masonic guys, but we got access to the entire building. So I've never posted any of that stuff. I just gave it to the one guy that wanted us to do it. Good. So yeah, we got some really interesting stuff. The Masons really don't like women in their spot. I will tell you that.
Oh my God! I stayed in a hall in Oregon. I want to say Forest Grove, Oregon, or something like that. It was it's called the Lodge, and it was an old, back in the day, before healthcare and life insurance and pensions and things like that. Masons build these huge housing complex, or big, almost like a hotel, for people who were Masons, so their family, once they retired and moved on and sold their homes, they can move into a room in one of these big in their lodges. And this was back in the 1800s, and it was turned into a hotel by the McMiniman family out in Oregon, who buy up a lot of these old properties and turn them into hotels. And it had a theater in it, and it was just wonderful. A couple of little pubs. Anyway, creepiest place though. And of course, and they have artists. They come in, like you walk out in the hall and look down to the end of the hall, and there's a person standing there. Excuse me. And it's actually a painting of a person on the end of the hall, and it scares the crap out of you if you're not paying attention. It's like you forget about it. You walk out at 3 a.m, turn around, go, oh, okay, it's a little old lady who's actually not just painted on the wall, life size. Freaky. But it's got that vibe too that. Like it's still being occupied by all the old Masons and their families. But the Shefflin Hall, when I was there, they were getting ready to do a play. And I was talking to one of the actors, and he says, yeah, we totally try to ignore what's going on in here, because stuff will get moved around, or they'll hear laughing and giggling. You know, if they do say something that's funny in the play, in the rehearsal, they'll actually hear somebody laughing at their, like, at least like an audience in there. So the spirits are interacting with the actors, even though it's just a rehearsal. So it'd be kind of fun energy in that place.
Oh yeah, and you get that. I think the fun energy is because you have fun with them. Yeah,
I think that you're right. As long as you're having fun, and I think that energy itself, the energy of us having a good time, is positive. That energy comes out of us, and it's if you're a lower vibration being, that's something you can tap into and feel good yourself about. And I think. Yeah. So, what is new that you have coming up for 2020? You've changed. Obviously, your tenants got out of there in December. Are you expanding again? Like you want to do these lockdowns, the bigger ones, including dock holidays every 3 months ish. But have you got any other plans to expand on the paranormal side of things within Watt and Tarbell?
What I just want to do, I would like to get people that teach mediumship, the teachers, they would be willing to bring their students in and, go ahead and pay that $20 to come in. I can use equipment or not. My building is a proven hotspot. What better place for them to teach their students? I personally got 7 years in there. I know who's in there as a whole, and it makes it where I don't have to be the lead in there, and I can actually play with my own gifts with them at that point in time. But I think that my building is a great teaching spot. I actually have one person that's a friend that's doing that with her students this month, and I am so looking forward to having that in there where they can see what equipment utilizes, the way it works, but for them to be able to use their skills that they're learning. It's a great place for them to learn. I would like to expand that in there. I actually do tarot readings in there. I also do my Reiki healings in that building. I've had Reiki Masters that tell me, oh, that's not just really a great place. I feel comfortable doing that. My guys kind of leave me alone when I'm doing it. So I don't feel bad when I'm doing my Reiki in there. I know my guys aren't going to attach to them. My guys like what I do in there. They're not going somewhere else.
Yeah, it is a good place. It's I quite enjoy hanging out in there. To me, I don't feel anything untoward. It was kind of creepy when you had your tenants in there. There was a lot of mixed energy. But I think that's what they brought that in. They were a little. I'll use the word mixed. A little. That energy wasn't 100% connected to your property. Like it wasn't. It's something they brought in that really kind of messed things up. And now that they're gone, it's a lot uneven or more even of a flow through the building. What else can I tell people about your place? It is literally, it's like, I think in your block, other than the birdcage, you've got an ice cream shop, your place, you've got, what do you call it, Doc Holidays, and then you've got a little, was it a leather? No, was it the leather shop at the end of the street? Or is that right before the alley laneway? You've got a little brown building. I can't remember what they sell there.
That is actually a new bakery there called Mario's Bakery. They have the best sandwiches. They have the best pizza in town. They have sweets in there that you can buy. Jeannie and her husband are just really fun people. And I will tell you, money for money, you get your dollar's worth in there. So, Lily is now across the street from us with her own personal building. It used to have the yogurt shop in that particular building, but now it's a bakery.
The yogurt shop, was that Annie's place? No, that was...
No, I
can't
don't
remember.
even remember. It was Lily's Memories or something like that.
Oh, okay.
She's now across the street with a little gift shop. She did away with the frozen yogurt, so...
Oh, okay. Very cool. I know there's a place across the street I was actually looking at thinking, I could buy that place. It was, was it Telly's Block or something like that? It was, but... That's
just the front of a building. There's nothing else there.
Yeah, that's what was kind of cool. I wanted to pick around. I wanted to go back with a metal detector and see what you could find in the ground there. That would be kind of cool because other than the front of the building, everything else collapsed and was taken away.
Yeah, well, it still has a roof that's kind of coming down in the back. So I would not suggest going in there.
So it's a hard hat area if I was sneaking around. And tie a rope to my waist. So at least you can drag me out. Now, let's talk about, you mentioned it's $20 to come in and do the investigation. And people think, oh, my God, you got to pay for that? Well, yeah, because you're right next door to an actual active saloon. And you have to kind of say, hey, you guys want to be quiet? How about shut down early? So you've got to pay for them, to shut down to a point. You've got to share the space.
Nora actually tries to keep the music down, and I do have, the one building that, our storefront that kind of buffers that. But people forget we're an actual working town. Those of us that are in these buildings, if we don't own them, we are paying money to lease them. I am leased 2 buildings. Leasing is not cheap.
No, it's not.
We pay prices here like what you're going to pay in New York City, Dallas, Texas, because our town seems to think that we're a major metroplex. And we depend on tourists that come in. And, not only do you got your lease, you got your sales tax, including what I'm charging you. Part of that goes to the state of Arizona for sales tax. And right now, I'm probably the cheapest. The birdcage is up to $25 and plus to do theirs. And I have maintained my 20 right now. If batteries and stuff keep going up, I may have to go higher. I am doing my best not to charge more.
We used to do, when I did paranormal investigations, people would say, well, how much does it cost? And this is a private one where they call you into their house because they want to know what's going bump in the night. And, what can we pay you? How about just donate some batteries? Go to here. We take donations, $20. Well, what do you do with the money? It pays for gas to get there, and we have to buy batteries because we go through so many friggin' batteries. And people say, well, you should get the rechargeable ones because you can use them all the time. Do you find the rechargeable ones actually drain quicker than the non-rechargeable ones?
Yes, I don't like the rechargeable ones for paranormal. I've tried them, spent a lot of money on them. Within 10 minutes going in, we were having to switch them, so we went back to the other batteries. You can't be changing batteries in the middle of an investigation. And truthfully, I personally, this is my feelings, if you're being asked to investigate somebody's home or you're being asked to go in there and to do cleansing, they should be paying. Mm-hmm. Number one, we're typically a long ways from where they are at. And if you're coming in with mediums, it's our energy that's being expended out there. And energy should be exchanged for something. And our time should be exchanged for something. And people get upset when you say, I can't go that far. I've personally been asked, can you come into Michigan? Can you come over to my place in California? No, I can't. Number one, I got to close my business down. If you really need me to go, you've got to pay what it's going to cost me to shut my business down, my gas there, if I have to stay the night. I'm not paying for that out of my pocket. I have enough places right around the area that I'm at. I can do right here and not have to pay for that gas. And the ones that I'm doing it with here say, hey, Nora, if you want to do it, I'm going to let you do it. I usually try to give them something for that as well. So that's one of the reasons these privates are so much more. It's not just my time. I'm having another business sometimes close down so we can go in there. Or they're paying an employee to be in there.
Yeah.
And people just think that you should be giving them this time for free. I got a news flash for you. Those people that are you seeing on TV, they're not getting in these places for free either.
Yep, that's true. A lot of people think that you show up to the Queen Mary with your TV crew and, the doors open up and you walk in saying, hey, I'm a very famous person within this very small part of the media. You should let me in here. Well, you do negotiate. Okay, we're going to be advertising for you. So instead of paying $500 an hour, we're only going to pay $400. Okay, that makes sense. But they're paying a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. It's when I do paranormal investigations, it was almost like you'd get volunteers to go in. And the reason we would go in and why we wanted to go in and not have to charge somebody was these people doing the investigations were just fascinated with doing them. And they thought it was fun. Unfortunately, after a while, you get these people are not. Well, there's no really such thing as a professional paranormal investigator, but they get good at it. And once you walk in going, yeah, ghosts do exist. Okay, fine. Now, what is it you want as a client? What do you want us to tell you about if there is something in your house and you don't have like squirrels in the attic or the squirrels in under your hat attic, you've got something in here. What would you like us to do about it? And 90% of the paranormal groups, if not all of them that I've run into, don't know what to do. Yes, yeah. We've proved there is your place is haunted, and the client's going, dude, I know it's haunted. I just want you to find out what it is and why it's here. Well, we've talked to it. We're going to go back now and listen to all our recordings. And the groups that I belong to would do that. They'd have pictures of the things. We'd have photographs of things, ghosts, full body apparitions, and recordings of two-way conversations with them. But we weren't allowed to tell the client because the guy who ran the group was, no, if we tell him, then he won't let us back in. And I want to take a bunch of other people tromp through this person's house and show them that there are real ghosts. And then once that group's done, I'll take another group through. And you've turned the friggin' client's house into a paranormal tourist trap. And it's not what we were hired for in the first place, or requested for in the first place. So do you want to communicate with whatever's opening and closing your cupboards at 3 a.m, or turning the TV off and on, or standing at the foot of your bed? Try to find out why it's there, make a deal with it, cross it over, see what's going on. No, don't want to do that. We're just paranormal investigators. We're Bob's Paranormal. We are Michigan Southeast flipping whatever. It's like, dude, why are you there? I'm ranting now. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no.
But I get so pissed over that.
Yeah, I get that. And when you're doing that with a client's house, you're also doing that like you do with my building. The owner of my building is the one that wanted us in there. He wanted us to give them a run. Because I was going to go back to engineering, and he approached me, the one that holds, he's owner and the leaseholder, and he says, how would you like to go up against the bird cage? I already knew it was haunted, and I said, well, if I do it, we're doing it totally different. It's not going to be a tour guide. We're going to do it the right way. But once you start doing that, the building becomes even more active. So these people that are wanting these houses done, my suggestion for them is make sure you get the right group in there, number one. Number two, don't continuously bring in other people because you're making it even more of a hot spot. What I do get, this is my personal peeve, and I'm going to do it as a business owner that has a building that is haunted. And I get these people that come here from all over the world that do the video logs that they're putting up on YouTube, where they're getting money for doing these logs because they got sponsorships that are coming in. They've got the high ratings with the people that, because of the way YouTube does. If you get so many viewers, they pay you as well. And they come to businesses like mine and say, well, here's my business card. You need to let me in for free because do you know how many people that I'm going to get for you? Hello, I've had that happen. I've not ever had any what I could prove came from your video logs.
Right.
Number one, people come here for that. And many of the people don't even have a good following, and they ask us to let them do it for free. And I just don't agree with that. And I'm like, no, you can go next door to the birdcage. You can pay their 4-hour minimum lockdown at $100+ an hour because you're not coming into my building for free.
Yeah, which is a good way of doing it.
I own the business, but my time is still worth something.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not in a position to be opening the door for everybody to come in and make money off of your business.
No. I have people like you that are friends that, I go and spend time in my building with. I have a friendship there. There's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and because you know me, and you know that my intent is more curiosity than it is I'm going to make money off of this. It's like I like knowing what you know and seeing all the stuff that you see. That to me, I'm just fascinated with this whole haunty, paranormal-y kind of thing.
But yeah, that's kind of like what I'm saying. It's a friendship. Rick McCollum comes in. He's never done really anything to put out through his stuff. He does Hollywood Ghost Hunters mag, but I have a friendship with him. I talk with him just like I do you outside of this that nobody else ever hears about.
Yeah,
because it's just friends.
Yep.
Those people, when they're here, if they're still hanging around after I'm closed down and we're going into my side and shit happens, it happens. Sorry about the cussing. But that's a friendship deal. It's like minds that are sharing my building or even Tombstone. And it is our curiosity. And we want to be around like-minded that aren't saying, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, you did have that thing happen at the Birdcage a few years ago by that television series that I really hate. We're going to do a lockdown. We're going to be here all night. And they stay like for an hour and a half and then film a bunch of the employees wearing period costumes and then blend them in to pretend that they're ghosts that they saw.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention any names, but, Ghost Adventures. But what a pile of horse crap that is. If their viewers only knew the crap, I don't think they probably very seldom get back in the same place twice after they screw we used to call it back in the film industry back when I was younger and I had a film location company. It was called burning a location. You come in saying, we want to film MacGyver in your store, and they go, oh, that'd be great, and you film it and just trash the place and leave. And it's like, hey, the next time someone wants to film, it's like, yeah, get out of here. I don't want to ever see any film crew in here again. You've burnt this location. So that's kind of what that TV series does. It's just a horrible setup, but they've got fans, so they don't really give a rat's bottom. And don't need those guys in there.
One particular person doesn't care about the fans. Personally, I like Aaron. I personally watched him with the kids, especially those kids. He is the most awesome, genuine person. I personally did not get to meet him. Really, I mean, he came in the building. I've got pictures of him, but I didn't get to spend time with him. But I'm a local here. I'm here every day, days that they're here. I'm observing what's going on. I'm seeing who's genuine, who's not genuine out there. I also read people very well. He is very genuine. The other one, not so much. I think he's a jerk.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, Aaron and Nick, they were the ones who started it. And then the wedding DJ ended up being a friend of Aaron's, and he kind of came in and then threw a monkey wrench into the whole event and took over to be famous. But
it was the way look.
Yeah, and he was at a friend of mine's place, the Omen House out in California, David Omen's place down the road from where the Sharon Tate murders were, about 200 feet away. And he was there for about an hour and a half, and he had to go out and meet a groupie that he had hooked up with. So he was looking at him like, what? He says, yeah, I don't really care. I'm out of here. I'm going to get laid. I don't care. It's just the mechanism to become famous. And I've run into that a lot, where you've got a lot of these, especially about 5-6 years ago, every group of people who wanted to get literally into the actors union or get onto television, they wanted to have a paranormal group. So you had a bunch of YouTube, or not YouTube, but Instagram influencer girls get together and say, we want to do a paranormal TV show. That way we're going to get our faces out there even more. It's like, dude, like you and every other little group of girls running around here, or a bunch of guys want to run around. You want to get a TV series. Like, we're done. Like paranormal television, it's interesting, but that's about it. It's interesting. And I think... Go ahead.
What gets me is most of your TV shows are all men. However, my experience, and I do this every day, with the exception of basically 3, it's women that are into this. It is the women that are your main psychics and your main mediums, your empaths. They're the ones that are into this. As a whole, you are very rare. Most men are petrified of the unknown. So if they're going to do this, they really need to show it for what it is. It is mainly the men in my building that if they're going to be scared and scream, and has been men in my building.
The other thing too, like you're right, it's 68%, and this stat goes back to 2014. Wherever I first was given these statistics, but I can't remember now, but 68% of empaths are female.
Yeah.
So the odds that you're going to get a sensitive or an intuitive male is, you've already cut that down. And then you've got to, eliminate the ones that don't believe and don't care and move on. And I find too, when I was doing paranormal investigations, we would go into locations and it would be two guys in a room for an hour and a half and nothing. And then one of the girls in the investigation would walk in, and all of a sudden, boom, we got chatterboxes. And it was like they were. And this is kind of interesting, Nora, and I'm going to throw this at you, because this is something that I'm finding is I really believe it's not the equipment or the location, it's the person who is in there communicating. Some people can walk in and get photographs of all sorts of stuff and get communication and dialogue and literally back and forth conversations, and another person in the exact same location won't get anything. That one person can go to it. If you have one of those magnets, those ghost magnets on your team, that person's going to get everything, whether they're intuitive or not. Some people just the other side play to them. Okay, you're going to take my picture? I'm going to stand right in front of you. Okay.
Yeah, and it is because we're more open for that. They know that we're coming in there many times not necessarily wanting it, but we are open to it. And if we do get it, we're not calling them out. What I am going to also tell you is I don't think that if you're really truly going to investigate someplace, I don't think you can get it in one time. The spirits need to also know they can trust you. Many times they're back there watching us and talking about us. I run that spirit box, and the spirit box does get parts of the radio on it. You have to learn what's radio, what's not. You really need to be looking at software and starting to understand where spirit level voices run, because they don't typically run in our voice range. They run lower or they run way higher. So you really need to learn to distinguish between the two, even if they sound clear. But you have to spend the time in there. The more time you spend, the more that they trust you. And I think that when you go to other places, you have to spend less time because for some reason spirit can seem to understand, hey, I'm not coming in here to exploit you. People will tell you I exploit mine because I do it in there every day. But anybody that really listens to how I introduce it, I invite the ones that want to interact. If they don't want to interact, hey, I'm cool with that as well. I've had some of mine that have told me in the middle of them that there was just one person that was being a jerk, and you will hear on the spirit box, good night, we're gone. Or if I've ran longer than what I'm supposed to, they'll say, what time is it? Meaning it's our time to play without you. Bye.
Yeah, like we're kind of busy. Well, just like you say, it's Mom's Day. It's Mother's Day. We're somewhere else right now. Or it's Christmas. We're not going to do this. We're busy doing. We all have plans. We're not going to entertain the. Or the other two. Other thing is, you might have a client come in, a guest who's just not somebody they want to interact with, and they'll tell you. Yeah. Bye.
Not doing this. I've had them tell me that certain people in my building. And I'm probably kind of lucky because a lot of people don't understand how to listen to the spirit box real clear, that when one has started asking questions that they've called them dirty names or they're a bad person or I don't like that person, and they just flat refuse to answer it. I've had them tell me flat out that person's evil, not answering.
Yeah, it's
they pick up on our energy just as well.
Oh yeah, and that's why they come home with us sometimes, because they'll pick up on that very, very high vibration, and they just really like standing close to us, and we'll come home, or they just want to get our attention, and they'll pull on us, or like the little boy did over at the San Jose house in the middle of the night, grabbed my hand and then ran under the bed with this thump, thump, thump. Scared the hell out of me.
Wanted to play.
Yeah, a psychic friend of mine the next day said, he just wanted you to know that you were in his space. And I was like, damn it, I built a bubble around me. I said I didn't want to be bothered. Yeah, but little boys don't care. Little kids don't care. They're all love and light. I was like, crap.
I had my grandchildren stay in there, because my daughter is there with me. And, as a business owner, I have that right. I get to be around my grandchildren that live here when they're not in school. So I get a little bit more contact with these particular two. And they've played cards and stuff in there. I have 2 Pokemon cards that sit up on my barrel because those Pokemon cards kept falling to the ground. So my granddaughter said, well, we're just going to leave them here because they won't let us play with them. I have a ball that'll move once in a while. My grandson has toys in there that he plays with. And kids are kids. I have a little girl that comes up. You know how a kid will do you, especially if you're watching them with their mom or their grandma. They are tapping their legs, trying to get that attention. I have bruises where I scratch on and off all day long because I have a child spirit that comes in and taps me all the time, like, hey, I'm here. Hey, I need you. And kids are kids. Yes, some spirits will imitate a kid, but you can typically tell the difference.
Yep. Yeah, this little guy was. I've had children wake me up at night before or communicate with me in the middle of the night, and I was going to say ghosts, but yeah, I guess they're ghosts, but they are kids, and you can build your little bubble, and the kids come right through.
Oh yeah.
During the day, or when I'm walking around open, or at a paranormal investigation, and I'm being open, I will have, and I have had two-way conversations and arguments with some real idiot ghosts, but on recording too, which is kind of fun to listen to it, playing it back. I'm arguing with somebody who we had one house out here where the kid, this spirit was in a room and drove the kid literally into a psych ward. And the mother sold the house. And this guy, he was laughing at us, like going, yeah, what are you going to do? We said, well, we're going to cross you out of here. Yeah, give it a shot, buddy. It's like, okay, this guy's going to be harder than I think, and I'm glad you're selling your house. Because we're not going to do well.
Yeah, some of them just don't want to go. That is the one thing that I've concentrated on, is trying to get my kiddos to move on. Of all of them stuck on this side, I really hate to see kids.
Yeah. Well, the kids they'll hang out because literally and this is my experience. It's like, sounds like I'm giving evidence in court. As my training and experience, therefore I found this, blah, blah, blah. But what I found was that children, the reason they don't cross over is literally stranger danger. When their great-grandmother comes through and says, okay, Billy, you're coming with me, and they look at them and go, I don't know who you are. I'm going to wait for Mom and Dad. So Mom and Dad die years later in a different location. The kids they could be in the hospital where they died. They could be in a playground. They could be in a car, like at the side of the road. And then they tagged along with somebody with a higher vibration because they felt good, and they got from point A to point B, have no idea where Mom and Dad are. And Mom and Dad, again, passed 40 years, 50 years later, and have moved on and crossed, and the kid is still wandering around out there waiting for mother and father, and they never show up. So it's getting them to move on and to trust that it's going to be a good place, because they're happy where they are to a point. There was a little girl. I was at the I can't remember what it's called. It's a really good restaurant, and if you like to have Indian tacos, it was wonderful. It's right across from the memorial, the battlefield of the Little Bighorn, and there's a restaurant there and a gift shop. And downstairs, there was a girl there. I was talking to a lady, and I said, "Oh my gosh, there's a little girl running around up here," and I stopped and I said, "Oh, there's a little girl downstairs too, and it's really cluttered downstairs, and she's hiding in the clutter because she's afraid."
Yeah.
And this lady looked at me and said, yeah, how did you know that? And I said, I'm seeing her right now. And I just picked it up because she was downstairs. And she was just afraid of the other ghosts. She wasn't afraid of people. She, I think she passed. Determined she passed in a house not too far away. She got sick. She was still in her nightgown, probably around 8 to 10 years old, and she had passed. She got sick and passed away, and she found her way to this location because it was kind of a cool place, but she was downstairs and she was just hiding because she was scared. She was afraid of ghosts. She was a ghost, and I felt so bad that she was down there. And I was going to mention that there are locations that you would anticipate are really negative and crazy haunted, but I tell you, one of the most wonderful locations. This is kind of funny. Pure, loving locations is that battlefield of the Little Bighorn. I actually, don't tell anybody, this is just between you and me, but I took a pebble from that battlefield, and I took it to a psychic conference in Scottsdale, Arizona in September. So I took the rock in August. September, I took it and I handed it to a psychic, and I said, "What do you see?" And he held the rock in his hand, and he says, "Well, I see I'm on a hill and I'm looking down and there's water and some farmhouses. And if you actually stood at the place I took the rock from and looked southwest, you look down to the river, the Bighorn, or the Little Bighorn, and some houses out in the distance, like a barn." And I said, "What else do you feel?" He says, "It's just absolutely pure love." And I said, "That is really interesting." And then we started to think, I told him where I got it from. We started talking about it. And you can imagine that battleground was being blessed the day after the battle. American Indians came through and started blessing the land. And that land ever since has been blessed by numerous denominations and people coming and praying over it and blessing it. And there's a bush beside the monument right at the Custer's Last Stand little hill. And that bush is covered in little ribbons and medicine bags.
Yeah.
It's probably the most blessed location. And and therefore it has a really positive, happy energy. And you're thinking it was a horrible, horrible battle. Yeah, it was. But it's fixed. And that land is actually purified. As a result of it. Now, conversely, think of places like Bergen-Belsen and Auschwitz that we still demonize. That's a horrible place, friggin' vile, disgusting place. The energies on that land are constantly being told that they're bad, and a lot of millions of people died there. Hundreds of thousands of people died there, and we're constantly, when we think about it, we're casting negativity onto the land itself. So it's never going to grow. It's never going to heal. We just keep ripping the scab off that scar.
Oh, yeah. And it's not. And that's one of the reasons that I always tell my people, in there, that they are loved. I have some that I've tried to cross that came here with people that shouldn't be there, and I've had them tell me it's a trick. So, they have to feel the love first before they can go.
When we're crossing people who haven't crossed because of religious fear, like, oh, I'm going to go to hell, what we found works is that all we have to get them is to get that out of their head for a split second. Just that tiny, tiny split second. So what we do is we say, well, Jesus died for your sin. If those people who haven't crossed over because they're afraid they're going to go to hell, they coveted their neighbor's wife, broke a 10 commandment, and they're thinking, well, my God, I'm going to go to hell. I'm not going to cross over. So you then know they have a belief in the Christian teachings. So you say, well, Jesus died for your sins. Why would you still be punished? Wouldn't that be a waste of his life? And all they have to do is a split second go, And in that split second, we've almost 100% of the time, actually 100% of the time, it's never not worked, a friend of theirs will come through and say, they're telling the truth, you can come.
Yeah.
You know, we had a cellmate from a guy who died of natural causes in prison, a Roman Catholic guy. He had killed somebody during Prohibition. His cellmate come through and said, "They're telling the truth. Come with me." And crossed. And
to give them their last right.
Yeah, but it's that hesitation, that what if in their head that allows that friend to come through. If they completely ignore you and say, no, you're like, if they're not going to pay attention, but it's that split second of hesitation allows that light to come back open and that friend to come through saying, no, trust me, you know me, you can come.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. Nora, I'm going to let you go now because you have to get to work, and I am going to ask people to go to wattandtarbell.com. That's WATTAND, Watt and Tarbell, TARBELL, wattandtarbell.com. That's Nora's website. You can also find her at Nora's Place on Facebook, Nora's Place on Facebook, and I'm going to be sending you this interview actually over to your Facebook page too, so you can post it up there, and some people can listen to you and poke fun at you there.
Oh, sounds awesome!
And
can't
please,
wait to see you. By the way.
Yes, I'll be there May 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Hold on. Am I going to be that long? Holy crap, I'm going to be there for a while. 14th to the 18th for Haunting in the Desert with Dwight and Rhonda Hall hanging out behind China Mary's in a little shack. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Sarah worked that out with you, by the way. You're going to really like her.
Yeah. I'm not even going to see them. They're going to be in Arkansas.
Yeah. They go oddity things.
Yeah, but that's going to be cool. So I'm going to hang out there. I finally found a place in Tombstone to stay because Haunting in the Desert, basically, they booked my San Jose house out from under me for some of their paranormal guests. So that's going to be fun. And I'll be hanging out with Nora in the store.
Yeah, you have a place to flirt with.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to do that. You know, you kidding? Oh, and I'm going to send you a picture of it was the Longhorn down the street, the Longhorn restaurant that I took a picture of that had this blue glowing light over top of it. I'm going to send you that photo, and maybe I'll put it. I'll send it down to your Facebook page, Nora's Place, and get you to comment on that for me.
Okay, James. Have a great day.
Watching you while you sleep all alone.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey. Let's be careful out there.
Far over the